First oral question, Baroness Bennett of Manor Castle.
My Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing under my name on the order paper.
My Lords, the Government recognises that beavers can benefit biodiversity, improve water quality and reduce flooding, amongst other things. However, beavers can also potentially cause damage to property and infrastructure through flooding and foraging. This means that reintroductions must balance the benefits and the risks and be carefully considered and planned. DEFRA continues to work with Natural England to develop our approach to beaver reintroductions and management.
I thank the noble lady, the Minister, for her question, although I have to say I think the answer is disappointing, given the benefits of beavers in the UK are already very evident. And I also wonder if the noble lady, the Minister, is aware of the case in the Bridie protected landscape in the Czech Republic, where beavers demonstrably saved the government, the local government, €1 million by putting a dam exactly where it needed to be to prevent flooding. Couldn't so many communities around the UK in England now be benefiting from that kind of protection at no cost?
Yeah.
My Lords, I think I did say that we recognise the benefits that beavers can bring. And while I recognise that in this particular case it worked extremely well, that they have to be released into the right place at the right time with proper management. And that's what this government is working towards.
The noble lady, on the position the government has taken, can I ask her to...
May I congratulate the Minister on identifying the damage which beavers do. Could I declare an interest? The beavers have destroyed the willow trees at the bottom of my garden, introduced illegally. On the River Tay, they are ringing trees that are more than 100 years old, undermining the banking. And whilst it may be a case for introducing beavers in some place, it should be done very carefully. And those who do it illegally should be held to account.
Question.
The noble lord is right to say that we need to manage beaver release correctly. A licence is of course required to release beavers in England, and these are only available for release into enclosures. And the licensing scheme, which is managed by Natural England, does create controls as well in order that any potential damage is minimised.
My Lords, though I sympathise with the noble Lord Forsyth about his willows, does my noble friend the Minister agree that where beavers are allowed to flourish, they help other species to flourish too? A fine thing for one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world.
Yeah. Well, a 2020 evidence review by Natural England found that beaver reintroductions can bring benefits through the restoration of lost natural ecosystems, including boosting biodiversity and increasing other species. And, for example, I'm sure noble lords, as well as myself, listen to the Archers. And, of course, there was an Archer story around beavers this week. And what we will have learned from that regarding species is that where you see beavers, you will also find tits.
Tuesday, I visited the South Downs National Park, where they have introduced a pair of beavers. Their introduction can have benefits for other animals. They are a large animal, not aggressive to other species such as the mink, but appear to act as a deterrent for the mink. This has the benefit of where water voles have been reintroduced alongside beavers, volunteers have noticed the number of mink have reduced, and thus the water voles thrive. Is the government considering the reintroduction of both species in areas where they used to be abundant?
Well, the government's approach to reintroductions more widely is something that needs to be considered on a case-by-case basis. We are committed to providing opportunities for the reintroduction of formerly native species where the benefits for the environment, such as the noble lady has demonstrated, are clear. But any reintroductions of any species must follow the published code and guidance for reintroductions and conservation translocations in England.
Crossbench. Can I put in a plea? I completely support the government's view on beavers and support the noble Baroness when she says they bring other species, but can I put in a plea for another wild species, which is the hare? At the moment, you can hunt and shoot a hare 24/7 all through the year, and we need to introduce a time when hares are pregnant and breeding, when they are off off the cards for people to shoot them, and this is really important as the population of this majestic animal is dwindling rapidly, and people in China are betting on hare coursing in Norfolk and places like that, and they put cameras on the dogs to watch them tear the hares apart. This is truly shocking. It is an amazing, wonderful, beautiful animal.
Of course, hare coursing is not allowed in this country, and I would like to congratulate the previous government on tightening up the rules around hare coursing. That was really important. But of course, the particular issue around hares and the shooting of hares is that, of course, there isn't a closed season, which there is for other species. And I do think that this is an anomaly and something that we should look at very carefully.
Congratulate the Noble Lady on the stand that this government has taken. Can I ask, to what extent, if beavers are to be introduced in areas where they currently are not found, to what extent farmers and drainage boards and others in the catchment area will be consulted?
Well, I can be very, very brief and clear. We intend to do full consultation with stakeholders and work closely with stakeholders around any introduction.
My Lords, may I take my noble friend back to her previous answer on the reintroduction of other wild species? I'm very glad to find that she's a fellow Archers fan. But she will be aware that recently there were some very serious illegal releases in Scotland, and they resulted not only in the use of precious resources, but also the death of at least one of the animals. Can she say what sanctions are available to be brought to bear against people who do that? Whether their intentions are good or ill, they are not doing anybody any favours.
Yes, I completely agree with my noble friend, and the government, of course, condemns any illegal release of beavers. Not only are they unlawful, but as she said, they can lead to damage and conflict. They undermine legitimate releases. Just to confirm, it is an offence in England under Section 14 of the Wildlife and Countryside Act of 1981 to release a beaver into an enclosure or the wild, except under the authority of a licence from Natural England. Regarding penalties, doing so without a licence carries a penalty of either an unlimited fine or up to 6 months in prison.
My Lords, I first refer the House to my register of interests, in particular as a host to an illegally released beaver, not by myself. As the Noble Baroness the Minister pointed out, the reintroduction of beavers to the UK may well have a role to play in managing waterways and reducing the risk of flooding. We have discussed nature-based solutions in this House before in the Water Special Measures Act, and I'd be most grateful to the Noble Baroness the Minister for an update on progress on nature-based solutions within the water sector.
We are, the Noble Lord is absolutely right. This is something that the government is very serious about. Nature-based solutions are going to be incredibly important if we're going to get the outcomes and results that we want. We are continuing to make progress, and I'm happy to keep the Noble Lord updated as that progress continues.
Bearing in mind the experience of the introduction of the grey squirrel in this country, and bearing in mind that beavers have been introduced into Scotland, is there not every likelihood that it's only a matter of time before the beavers establish themselves in England, with or without consent from Natural England?
Well, as I've said, any introductions are being very, very carefully managed and licensed. We do have a 5-step management approach to beavers, which can also come in if there are illegal releases or releases if they spread into areas that are less appropriate. And that 5-step management does have a number of actions in order to cope with beaver numbers as we move forward with this programme.
And unbudgeted aspects of species reintroduction that caused the conflict. In Scotland, where, like Lord Forsyth, I live, the original beaver reintroduction study concluded that there was little impact on agriculture. Beavers were released both legally and illegally and given full protection. The study, although technically correct, failed to mention that the reason for the small impact on agriculture was largely due to the fact that there was very little agriculture in the study area. The subsequent expansion of beavers has caused conflict as they go into the agricultural area. So could I ask the Noble Minister, the Baroness, to ensure that any study or consultation prior to a reintroduction is comprehensive, includes a plan for problem areas and has a financial contingency.
I can reassure the Noble Lord that there will be proper consultation and thorough consideration of any aspects of reports or information before any releases take place. But I just would like to finish by stressing the fact that beavers do bring huge benefits as well as potential risks.